U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine, Kurt Volker, is now hours into questioning from members of the three House committees leading the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. And as Democrats dig deeper into the president's ties with Ukrainian officials, Donald Trump is ramping up his attacks on one of his biggest rivals, former Vice President Joe Biden, now publicly calling on China to investigate Biden and his son Hunter. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman from California, Barragán. Barragán is a member of the Homeland Security Committee. Congresswoman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What do you make of what's going on right now? Because as the impeachment inquiry gains steam and the majority of Democratic members of Congress, all but 9, I believe, are supporting an impeachment inquiry, Donald Trump seems to be out there making the case that he did nothing wrong by now asking other countries, including China, to do exactly what he asked Ukraine to do on that phone call that is at the heart of the impeachment question.
Well, Allie, this is outrageous. It's wrong, even by Trump's own standards. It appears that what he did on the call with the head of Ukraine was to have this conversation. Officials even moved it into a classified server because they knew it was wrong. And now he's out in the opening with his corruption, asking China to do this. This is crazy. And I think this is going to add to the heart of the impeachment inquiry. It's as if he says, if I do it in public, I'm going to be immune to prosecution, and he's mistaken about that.
So there's a Homeland Security aspect to this, a fairly serious one. Congress had approved aid to Ukraine for a reason, right? It wasn't charitable. It was that Ukraine is involved in a war with Russia, and America and its European allies wanted to support Ukraine in this. But in this quid pro quo dealing with other countries, there are Homeland Security implications that we have to think about.
Absolutely. And hearing after hearing that we have in Homeland, we have heard on a bipartisan basis from Republicans and Democrats about the concerns about foreign entities playing a role in our elections. And so from what we heard today on the South Lawn of the White House, it is time right now for those Republicans to stand up who've been talking about national security in those Homeland hearings and throughout and say that this is wrong. This is exactly the very thing that our committee is supposed to be protecting against. Foreign interference and other countries coming in and having a role on the homeland. We are here to protect the homeland, and it's time to choose the Constitution and national security over party.
You know, this story has sucked all the oxygen out of all the rooms, but there was a story that came out the other day that I think managed to catch most people's attention. It was a New York Times story about the president's conversations with his closest and most senior advisors about the border wall, in which the New York Times writes, the president had often talked about fortifying a border wall with a water-filled trench stocked with snakes or alligators, prompting aides to seek a cost estimate. He wanted the wall electrified with spikes on top that could pierce human flesh. Later in a meeting, aides recalled, he suggested they shoot migrants in the legs to slow them down. The Washington Post reports Trump wanted to have U.S. forces equipped with bayonets to stop migrants at the border. The president has actively denied saying these things, or at least saying some of those things. But what's your take on this?
I think it's sick. I think it shows the sickness of a mind that's willing to do anything that can be done to stop migrants from coming into this country, who, by the way, are coming legally to request and apply for asylum. And we have to continue to push back. This president continues to criminalize migrants, and it's something that he started his campaign on. It's something that he's continuing to do, and we have to continue the oversight. It's completely wrong. I believe this president will do anything that he thinks he can get away with, even if it's unlawful.